Welcome to the fine print, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Caleb Teskey, coming at you with another great guest tonight. You know it. And as always, we're going to do a couple of shout outs for the last guest because we've been just a great lineup here. Joel Bedard, some great insight into the hemp industry and his life and activism. Nick Heilig Art. If you guys haven't checked out Nick's art, definitely get on that. Pleasure speaking with Nick. Christian and Jenn from Ratu's Cannabis Supply, and Leslie Engelking from the Foundation of Cannabis Unified Standards. And I want to just announce a few things we got coming up. On Thursday, I got Doe from Doughboy Farms here. Believe he's got a tier 2 mixed cultivation or something like that, maybe 3, I can't remember. On Sunday the 3rd, I've got Lubo Packaging. On the 5th, I got Tara Evelyn from Fat Nugs Magazine. That's going to be a great show. On the 7th, I've got Glenn Anderson. On the 10th, I got Brianna Woodward, who's doing stand-up comedy and designed my logo. On the 12th, I've got In-House Genetics. These next guys might have a word to say about In-House Genetics. I don't know. And on the 14th, we got Tim Blake from the Emerald Cup. So a lot of great guests coming up. And tonight, I had one of these two on quite a while back. You might remember them. But now we got both of them here. And without further ado, from Mcginty's Magical Meds, it's Jenn and Tom Mcginty, guys. Thank you for being here with me tonight.
What's up, Caleb?
And before we do anything, Jenn, you weren't here last time, and I was wondering before we get started if you would share with us a 5-minute life story.
Sure. So I got married the first time when I was 17, and I had 2 kids at the age of 17 and 18. And then I got remarried to Tom when I was, 22?
28, 25.
Yeah.
Like that.
And then we had our baby together, who is now 10. And I used to waitress back in the day. And I had a brief period with using drugs for about, I want to say 4 years. And now I'm sober. And I started smoking cannabis after I got sober. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we started doing the delivery service. And yeah, I got into cannabis after that.
Excellent. You do a short 5-minute life story, Jenn. So I want to ask you guys, it's been a while since we caught up. And here I'm gonna put you guys over here, and I'm gonna live over there. And I'd like to ask both of you sort of about this transition into the because you got your license now, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And what'd you get for a license?
Tier 1 mixed.
Cool. So
indoor and outdoor.
I'd like to hear both of your opinions on how this transition has gone for you.
Ladies first.
Well, it was a little tough at first, but it took us, I want to say, 2 years?
Almost 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, to get our stuff in on the shelves. And yeah.
Yeah, about 2 years.
And like the process of doing all the paperwork, I think it was new for Vermont, so the online is a little, harder, but they're kind of like revamping it after everybody's been on and making some corrections to like the online, the CCB website, like where you have to go like file all your strains and whatnot.
Oh, don't jump the gun too much there. We're going to get to that. Yeah. So did you guys delegate these tasks? Did one of you handle the paperwork? Did you both do it together? Did you hire a lawyer to help you? How'd it go?
It's funny. I called a lawyer and he told me to do it all myself, to not spend money on it, which is funny.
Wow.
And yeah, so I started doing all the paperwork myself. I do all the paperwork, and then he does like all the hard lifting. He built our grow from the ground up.
Do you want to talk to us about building out your facility, Tom?
Yeah, so over the past couple of years, I've been working on a small little 16 lighter. I focus most of my growing indoors and stuff. And even in my legacy days, I never got over 10 lights. I've only done a few runs with 10 lights, and it was a little bit of a jump up for me as far as skill set goes and whatnot. But a lot of it was like riding a bike. I was able to overcome a lot of the fears that I had, especially jumping into the legal game. It's a definite big difference from the legacy market. I was so used to just growing my stuff, chopping, curing, and packaging, and then it was gone. You know what I mean? All this extra process and stuff was definitely a learning lesson, and I don't know if I quite like it yet, but for sure it's something that needs to happen, and excited for the future here. I mean, cannabis is starting to look brilliant in the world.
I want to slap this up here. This is Nick Woodard, I believe, from Bushy Beard. What's good, Tom and Jen?
What's
Thanks for
up?
tuning in there, Nick. Yeah, I like Nick. He's a good shit.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Would you care to tell us how you're growing, what type of lights you're running, what your medium is, things of that nature?
So I'm a soil grower. I only use soil. We use amendments for most of the plant's vegetation life. They're basically brought up organic, and I finish off with salts. I call it synganic. Some don't like that term, but I think it's a perfect way to describe what someone like myself does in their growing style. So I use salts to finish off, usually around mid-flower and whatnot. But other than that, some of my stuff's trade secrets. We'll keep that a secret, you know. But besides that, there's really not much to what I do. I'm a farmer. I mean, I grow plants, man.
And I've been asking a lot of people this. I'm curious if you're treating your water at all, if you're doing any type of RO. I know a lot of people are doing that.
Of course. We actually have our own well and whatnot, and we've had our water tested and whatnot. But I've been so strictly adamant on using RO systems my whole grow. So I kind of got stuck using them again. We have clean water. It seems to be really good water and stuff. But I feel like if you're making the next step of quality cannabis, one of your things is water. You know, you want clean water, you want clean inputs going into your plant, as little as many people touching the plant as possible.
Predator bugs.
Yep. We try not to use any at all pesticides. We use strictly predator bugs. We use nature towards our benefit. From start to finish, I basically have bugs take care of my whole situation.
Sorry to cut you off, Tom. Would you tell us what kind of bugs that you're using for that? I'm curious. I know a lot of people use ladybugs, but I'm curious if there's anything else.
So I've noticed over the years, ladybugs are kind of they're on the lazy side of predator bugs, right? So I use beneficial mites. I use lacewings, rove beetles. I do throw ladybugs in there. We also use praying mantises. There's a lot of stuff out there, right, that fit certain grow styles, and then there's certain ones that, you know, once you start throwing salts in, you start having problems keeping, you know, certain things like nematodes and other things around. So that's something we think of beforehand. I think we usually jump into using one right after another, and each one has their specific reason to be in the median. So
Thanks, Tom. I've always been curious about that. I've never heard praying mantises before. That's cool.
Yeah, so they're good for a lot of the flying insects that ladybugs aren't going to pick up. When they're young, they're so voracious. They go after just about anything they can get their little claws on. So
They'll eat mice.
yep, they'll as they get bigger, they eat full grown freaking lizards, mice, and birds. Yeah, praying mantises can be gangsters
really
of the forest, man.
Holy shit. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I didn't either until I started doing a little research when somebody told me, hey, you should try utilizing them in your outside grow. I'm like, oh, you're crazy. I'm going to have a bunch of praying mantises running around. And after watching them at work, as soon as that egg hatches, they go right to work. They're amazing helpers.
Mm-hmm.
Shameless slap. I'm with Tom and Jenn Mcginty from Mcginty's Magical Meds. I'm supposed to slap that up every 10 or 15 minutes or so. And now, Tom, when we spoke, and Jenn, I'm super curious to get your perspectives on this because I've been talking to Tom more, but I know you got a lot to say about the shit. And, you know, there's a few, obviously, Tom, the ganja delivery guy, one of your big things, and I know I interviewed Nick Shorman from Vermont Normal last year about the potential of a delivery program in Vermont. Have we seen any movement on that? Or I'm curious to hear from you guys' perspective.
Dead in the water.
Yeah, they're only doing delivery, what, for medical?
Yeah, I believe so. And it seems like their priorities in a rural state. You know, you look at our amount of people in the state, right, that live rurally. Is about 40% of our population lives rurally. They little of them have access to the stores, let alone to dispensaries or what have you, right? If you look at America's populations, over 40% of Americans don't even have a driver's license, right? Let alone the people that can't get past the stigma and don't want to go utilize a dispensary. They'd rather use a farmer or a neighbor, or, you know what I mean? So I think the state is kind of hindering a lot of the smaller farmers that would have opportunity in this industry. They're definitely they're whittling it down. And in my opinion, the way stuff is, I mean, if you look at like testing fees, right? They're crazy as heck. I see a lot of the smaller grows not being able to even keep up with upkeep. They want us to pay for our license. They want to pay for testing, materials to grow with. You have to pay your utilities, your packaging, your banking, your insurance. Now, what's left for the farmer after all this is said and done, especially a smaller farmer? Because if you look at like a tier 4, right, that may have, let's just say, 100 pounds per run, right? They're paying the same fees for testing as a tier 1 that maybe have 10 to 15 pounds per run. So it's a system that I think is slowly going to benefit the larger tiers. And it's kind of a make or break thing, I guess, in the state, is what it's going to be left down to, is if they're going to be able to be profitable and feed their families while doing this.
Yeah,
Jenn,
but dead in the water on delivery for, I think, until what they said next year.
I haven't even heard talks about it. They said that they were talking about some kind of farmers market,
they
temporary licensing or something.
have you guys spoken with the state about this at all?
I've spoken with the CCB, our, what's her name?
Chris.
Yeah.
It's like your case manager.
Yeah, our case manager.
Like each
Chris
farmer.
Monica. Yep. She's an awesome person. I really,
she's helped us a lot too.
I'm grateful we got her as somebody that deals with our case. She's definitely a cool person. I feel like she rooted for us, and she is rooting for some of the smaller farms and whatnot. She was super honest with me, and didn't let my head get too big. You know what I mean? I love that she's a grower and she's got knowledge as well. Just about anything I was talking to her about in my grow, she was able to follow along and actually talk to me. Anything from beneficials to using different types of amendments and whatnot. She was very knowledgeable about, which that's something that I was hoping for at the CCB. You know what I mean?
And so she's your compliance person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. How about the other stuff, the banking and insurance? That stuff I've been asking everyone about. I don't know if you guys are down to talk about that, but
they just charged us $500 to keep our banking for the year. Right?
Yeah, so the banking was like $500. I don't know. We use Vermont Federal.
There's not a lot of banks right now that are.
Yeah, there's not a lot of options, so it's kind of like take what you can get and run with it. I do feel like, that they'll be coming up with a couple more banks to utilize, and I feel like avenues are going to get a little easier to navigate here in the future. They just got to get their crap together. I mean, definitely the CCB website is kind of a little funky. There's no way to go back and put more details in or change
delete a form if you mess it up. Like, there's a couple of things on there, but they said at the meeting, like we have a meeting or a test we have to take in order to get our license now. So all the growers have to take a class, which we took. And yes.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that class, please?
Yeah. So what did it go through? It went through like the online stuff, like how many plants you can have in your lots, what you can like put on the webs, like all your weight and things like that.
Yeah, I went through a bunch of that stuff. It also went over what's going to be allowed for packaging and what's not going to be. They went over different things about pesticides that we can be using and what we can't be using. They gave us a pretty decent avenue to look that stuff up via their website, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, I believe a lot of the stuff they went over at first when I'm like, oh, they're going to make me go to class. Like, what the heck? After going to it, you know, a lot of it was informational, and I don't feel like that it was just useless information. I think a lot of people could take stuff from that.
Yeah, it's just like, sorry to cut you off. It was like when I bartended, you have to like go to a state course and get like your little certificate.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, your DLC. I've got that.
Yep. I believe they went over transportation of products and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that too, and how
what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Yeah, and that seems like a weird one because I've looked at in other states. I interviewed a guy from Florida, True Leave, who was talking about they make people drive around in these big white vans with like bubble cameras on them.
Yep.
Unmarked, but totally like noticeable. They stand out like a sore thumb, and they have no type of security. They're not allowed to carry guns, and they just send a lot of it sounded like immigrant workers in to do these super long driving routes for 16 hours a day, which to me seems like you're setting them up for. I think honestly it would be safer if you just drove a regular car that didn't stand out like a sore thumb like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly. I mean, as a legacy guy, if you just do your due diligence and know your surroundings, stuff in Vermont's not really as scary as per se Florida or other states that surround us and whatnot. I don't think we're as susceptible to a lot of this fear that the CCB and other lawmakers and legislators are coming up with. Like Jen said, we were a delivery service for about 4 years, obviously gray market. We haven't even gotten, when we were doing that, we've never got ripped off. We've never even had anybody shortchange us.
No.
Usually anybody that was using the service was an older person that can't get access to the local town or to good cannabis. Users. You know what I mean? There are everyday users that were more than happy to see our faces every day.
And I went on a ride with you. They seemed happy.
Yes, sir.
Everybody seemed happy. You know,
yeah.
I did some real journalism. Yeah, shameless slap. I'm here with Jenn and Tom Mcginty. Here, let me get that banner out of the way. Boom, there we go. Jenn and Tom Mcginty, McGinty's Magical Meds. Whoops, that's Joel again. I didn't mean to do that.
What's up, Joel?
Yeah, so we got a couple of other talking points. And Tom, I believe you mentioned this earlier. It was sort of this farmer's market, direct to consumer sales. And from a lot of the people I've talked to, yourself included, it seems like delivery and direct to consumer sales would be two incredibly cheap and easy ways for people to access this market that don't necessarily have a ton of money. And
100%.
It seems like in a lot of states that I've looked at, they fight against this shit tooth and nail, which to me makes it look like they're trying to fucking keep small farmers out of this market. And I'd love to hear both of your thoughts on that, guys.
So yeah, I definitely think Vermont is craft state. You know what I mean? One of our best attributes in this state is a lot of our craft goods and our craftsmen that we have. You look at anything from maple syrup to our cheese to a lot of the stuff that the state makes. You know what I mean? And it's all done better when it's done at a small scale and more attention, less hands touching it. So I think direct sales should be our goal as a state. I mean, I've talked to quite a few farmers that also share the same dream or whatnot, but a lot of them are just more than happy to go along with what the state's allowing, which I myself, any progress forward is progress either way. But I think the state's definitely making a back step by not talking about delivery, not talking about direct sales. There's needs to be some kind of system set up for smaller farmers.
Yeah.
There's no reason why my uncle, if he wanted to grow 15 plants and get them tested at the end of the year, and if somebody's willing to put them on their store shelves, why the heck not? You know what I mean? It just gives another avenue, just like I believe delivery gives a lot more avenues to people for jobs.
Right.
If you have a license and a clean record, you could be a delivery driver, whether that's bulk delivery driver, that's a door-to-door delivery driver, or dispensary to customer driving. You know what I mean? I think there's a shite ton of opportunity that's going to be missed if we don't talk about direct sales, delivery, etc.
Jenn, what are you thinking over there?
Oh,
She's always thinking.
yeah. I was thinking that we're gonna push people like to the black market or to other states that are doing it better. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I see
Correct.
New York is starting to allow the farmers market.
Yep.
Yep.
New York's a total shit show from what I've seen.
It's
But
kind of the
that's
Wild West. Yeah.
yeah. Once in a while, you get a sliver of a silver lining. You're like, all
Yeah.
right.
I think we're with New York, just like a lot of other states, they have a lot more to worry about than sales of cannabis.
Yeah.
So anything to ease that bull crap that they're already going through. You look at the migrants that are coming in New York. They're having issues with that. They're having issues with their politicians.
Yeah, the mayor just got fucked up in some kind of scandal. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's just a constant battle for them. So they definitely, I believe they're doing the right thing by picking their battles, just allowing certain stuff. You look at New York for the first almost 2 years, people were open air market for,
Yeah, they still are kind of. The
there's
black market's big over there.
exactly. And I think that's what the people really want. They want to see the faces of the farmers. They want to get to know the person. You know what I mean? A lot more people are being made aware of quality cannabis as well. You look at a lot of the past, right, in certain states, and it wasn't high-end cannabis that our fathers and mothers were smoking. It was 10% sativas from Colombia or wherever, and they were doing just fine with it. So I think once we get past this little initial push, I think stuff will start looking a little bit better for cannabis in Vermont. But I do think they are definitely making a big mistake by not looking at direct sales, and they are pushing people out of our state to go where it's more available. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Maine.
it's pretty expensive in the dispensaries too.
Yep, Maine.
Yeah, Maine. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and their program's a little better over there. Like I remember going to Maine a long time ago, and you could get delivery to Old Orchard Beach.
Yep. Yep.
It's black market, obviously, but
But that's got to be nice. You're on the beach. You can call up and get some weed. I mean,
right, exactly.
They're still behind over in Maine too.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of friends that are caregivers over there. A couple of them that are in the legal market, and a couple of them that still do black market. And I think that the whole bottom line is they still don't have a good medical system. That's a big issue for a lot of them. One-Eyed Cat Cannabis does a lot of cool work on that, and pointing out some of the obvious things that others may not. There's a few other people that are making us aware of a lot of the shenanigans that are going on behind our backs in other markets. Just gives us something to look forward to in the future for our market, right?
I got a great story for you after we wrap this up. Remind me.
Yes, definitely.
Here, I do want to do a shameless slap for Ben up at Treetop Alliance. This is an empty jar, but this should be hitting the market soon. It's a Gush Mints, you know. It's a strawberry guava. Ben had one of the nicest outdoor setups I've seen this year. I meant to slap that on the top of the interview, but I forgot. But
most definitely.
Yeah, it was good to see Ben. He filmed my interview with John Rogers last year. It was just great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Yep.
I do want to circle back to something you said earlier about this idea of a sliding scale for testing. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Most definitely. So for testing, I definitely think there should be some kind of sliding scale set in place for smaller farmers, or else we're going to see a slow decay of the tier one farmer, the true craft cannabis farmer. Like I was saying earlier, you take a tier four, he's got 100 pounds. He's got 5 strains to 7 strains to 10 strains, whatever, right? And he's got 100 pounds. He brings it to testing, right? He still pays the same as the guy that freaking brings 10 pounds, which all in all is a little unfair in my opinion. But I'd love to hear a lot more people's opinions on that.
Yeah, that's
Definitely. Maybe if people have any comments to leave down in the comment section, that'd be sweet. I definitely like to read through them and get other people's opinion on that. Do you think it's fair? Is it not fair?
Like, do you feel like it's expensive?
Yeah, I
Because we did.
think it was super outrageous. To
Well,
be
hey,
honest,
we got 2 people watching. If either of you guys have any comments on that, Nick, if you're still in there, yeah, I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, so what are you guys paying for like a full panel test for one cultivar of cannabis?
Well, I can tell you what we paid for 7 strains. I was unaware of the panel tests and all this. I was just so in a rush to finally get my cannabis in the market.
Prefer you do it in lots of 5.
Lots of 5. So I did 7 strains. I planned on doing 7 to 10 strains every time I drop. But after going and paying $2,200 for testing, happened to pay an additional $200 for a terpene test.
Yes.
And that was only on 2 strains. I wanted to have my terpenes for each and every.
Yeah, we couldn't afford.
Yeah, I couldn't afford to do it.
Everyone.
So as is.
Terpene testing is not mandatory, correct?
No.
But a lot of okay, so you just wanted to do that so your consumers
in the consumer's eyes, it's looked at as mandatory. Right. It should be something that's put on there.
Right.
You can't get any judgment of quality from a product if you're not able to see the terpene levels, THC and TAC. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not able to access those and it's just the bag in front of you, it makes it no different than having a black market cookies bag. You know what I mean?
Right. And then some people have it and some people don't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think it would kind of be fun to blind label it, at least take the THC percentage off there. Cause I feel like THC percentage is sort of overrated in my opinion. And people are using it to jack up the prices on their weed, even though maybe your chirp. Yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, no, I was agreeing with you. That was like a really good point.
I think that a lot of people are misunderstanding cannabis when they start looking at only at THC, correct? Right? If you're only looking at like what the THC percentage is, you're definitely not getting a full spectrum experience. You know what I mean? It's a lot more. It's other cannabinoids in there. There's alkaloids. There's a bunch of different things that make up the cannabis plant. You know what I mean? And THC is definitely not all the effects you get. You get effects from terpenes. There's a lot more to be had than just THC. I've smoked strains that, like I was saying, our parents, they were smoking 10 percenters and getting fried out of their mind, right? So that tells you right there, it's not all about THC percentage, because that wasn't even the goal back then. For some, it may have been, but for the most part, it was how much you can get out in bulk. Um, so I think people eventually will become more aware of that. I think one of the things that we're lacking on is education to people. As much information on packaging as possible would be nice, right? But it's kind of hard to do. That's why bring it back to us selling directly, anybody being able to sell directly, you're able to educate people as they're coming to you. You know what I mean? The ones that want to be educated can be educated, and the ones that are like, I really don't care, is a good pot. They can do what they need to do as well. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this: you guys have a child. How do you educate your child about this?
Oh, she's been brought up around cannabis her whole life. We try not to smoke around her. We have a set smoking room. But she is one of the most knowledgeable kids I've met about cannabis.
Jenn, interrupt him for a minute. I want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had her in our grow for a long time, teaching her. She can tell a male and a female plant. Yeah, she's really good, and she does actually trim, but she wears gloves. So she's trimmed weed
She's trimmed
before.
before.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with it. That's how I got half the interest that I did, is being allowed
And
by
she was
older
really
people.
proud of her nugs too.
True story. Our older kids, we have two other kids. She has two kids from her previous marriage, and my son,
19.
he's about 18 now, but he's recently taken an interest in it. And I thought it was kind of sad that there wasn't something set in place to allow us to have our 18, 19-year-old kids even work on packaging, work on something that doesn't have to do with the direct contact of the plant, right? We're not allowed to bring our kids in, so the whole legacy thing is kind of slowly, you know what I mean?
Well, you could send them. You could send them to a war, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't understand.
No, definitely. It's one of the societal problems that I think we should address here pretty soon. All this stigma, that was one of the things in the CCB meeting or class that I wasn't very happy with. They showed a picture of a mother with a baby next to a flowered out cannabis plant, and they were saying
like
that
dangerous.
yeah, they were kind of acting like that was a dangerous thing, or you know what I mean. I really don't get that from the plant. My
As long as
kids,
you teach them about the plant, and
our older kids have to be some of the smarter kids of society right now. They didn't try cannabis until they got much older, because they were brought up around us. You know what I mean? They don't drink. They both of them have kids now. They're doing brilliant in life. So I think a lot of the stigma where, oh, you're brought up by pothead parents, or you're a pothead yourself, you're going to be lazy and have no ambition. And I think that's total BS, you know.
I agree. Tom, you should get up off the couch and stand to your left so we can see that flag real quick.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Spartan 4200. Tom Mcginty, delivery guy. Another boom. Mcginty's magical med. Jenn and Tom Mcginty.
Oh yeah, they almost didn't let that moose in.
Yeah, that was one of the other things I wanted to bring up. They almost didn't let my design come in.
Why? Can you tell me why? What
Because
was
he's
the
smoking
reason?
joints,
He's got joints in his mouth
and it's like
in an adult market.
Oh, God forbid.
I made it realist. I had a realist artist work on it. You know what I mean? I wanted it to be as adult driven as possible, but I also wanted it to scream cannabis product. I think by blinding our kids from these products that we're going to daily use, did it work with alcohol? I mean,
I think alcohol's worse.
So I think we're just breeding stupid kids if we're not educating and talking to them about the legal substances that we use. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's okay to go to a family reunion and have Uncle Joe getting hammered, but if Uncle Tom goes out and smokes a fatty, he's a bad guy. You know, that's not the society I think we all want to live in.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that they were actually bringing up was our meds part, right?
Oh yeah, we can't have meds on there.
Well, they suggested we take meds out of our name, right? And my whole thing is their whole justification of it is you can't be calling a cannabis product medical, right?
Because
My
it's not
question is,
it's not FDA approved or whatever.
yes. Okay. How the heck do we have a medical system? It's a very poor one, if a medical system, but how the heck do we have a medical system that the state profits from? If we can't start relating this plant to medicine, we're never going to bridge that divide that needs to be bridged.
And all use is medical use.
100%. There should be no recreational. There should be no medical. And this is alternate medicine, plant medicine. You know, that's an actual thing in a lot of societies. And the more we push away from that, is the more issues we're going to bring up for future generations. You know, they deal with when we should have had this deal with in the 70s, 80s.
Yep. Shameless plug for hickory too. I got my hickory steak here.
Those things are sick. I like those.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well said, guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. It's wild that Oxycontin was given out like candy, and we're still arguing over cannabis here.
Yep.
I know. I used drugs a while back, so
yeah, we're both recovering addicts and stuff. And the one thing that helped me get off of using opiates and stuff was cannabis and psilocybin. I microdosed myself away from all these plants, where they tried sticking me on Suboxone, and that was horrible. I felt no different. I was still a drug addict every day.
Yeah,
there was no difference.
You tried the Suboxone for a little while.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We tried it when we first got
for almost 2 years before we were both getting sick. Yeah, we were just as much of a slave to the Suboxone doctor as we were to our dope dealer. There was no difference at all. And there was a difference. The difference was our dope dealer would never shut us off. And if you miss an appointment or you have a bad drug test or anything, which luckily we were able to make it through and not have any bad drug tests, which a lot of addicts struggle with. You know what I mean? So,
but Suboxone is just an opiate with a dress on.
Correct.
So
they got a new one out, Subbutane or some crap like that. It's just a prettier dress, you know.
We should be microdosing mushrooms and smoking weed.
Plant medicine, man.
Yeah.
If it grows from the earth, there's got to be some benefits to it, you know. You look at a lot of our medicine that's made and turned into prescription is made from earth medicine. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's naturally derived at one point, and we take it out of hand and design it and make it into our own bull crap that usually has more side effects than it has benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love you guys. Here's Chelsea Sanders. Your logo is sick. Did you design it yourself?
Yes, we designed it. Yeah, so all of our logos and stuff, we plan on doing stickers every time we drop. Every design is our idea. We usually have a few different people. Goon Draws, he's a guy out of Maine. I met him through another cultivator that was like, hey, this guy did a bunch of work for me. Check him out. He ended up being one of my favorite artists. I love his design. He did our purple moose design, which I knew that one was going to have a hard time being passed by the CCB. So we're hopefully going around that. I'm going to come out with some mood mats with that on it. I think those would be super cool to see in people's little smoke areas and whatnot. And then we also use a guy named Terpene Tom. That's who did that packaging.
Terpene Tom, you said?
Terpene Tom, yep, on Instagram. But he's a decent guy, relatively cheap. Mokshka Cannabis, they helped us with designing our legal packaging and helping us get it all put onto one format and made it really accessible for us to actually get it done ourselves. You know what I mean? So shout out to them. We really respect them. Yes, Andrew. Yep.
I had Andrew on the show a while back. Yeah, it's been a minute, but yep, I like
Andrew. He's got the best vibes ever.
Yes.
One of the first times meeting him, just felt that positive energy from him, and it
Mm.
spoke million words without even having to get to know him too well. Me and him kicked it off pretty well. Yeah, we support the heck out of that kid. His gummies are quite good too.
Mhm. I tried them before it was
I prefer the
legal.
maple ones,
Back
but the
when people
scented
could
ones are good
get
too.
Well, back when people could get free samples before he got licensed, which
Yep.
to me that's another weird thing. How do you
Yeah.
guys feel
Yeah.
about the gifting shit? Because it seems like before you have a license, you can give away as much free product as you want, and then after you get a license, suddenly that becomes
Yep.
illegal or something.
So we were worried about that as well because as we drop stuff, we like to make sure that the bud tenders have samples as well. We had our first drop at Winooski Organics, and I wanted to make sure he
Oh, yeah.
had stuff all for his bud tenders so they could actually get the word out about our cannabis, and if they liked it, hopefully scream to the high hills about it. And the way that they have it set up, it's kind of tricky to figure out how to give cannabis and not have it used against us. You know what I mean? That's one of my favorite things about growing cannabis is sharing it with others and getting people's opinions on what I think is beautiful, or you know what I mean? Or if I think something's trash and I got somebody smoking it and they're like, no, dude, this is really good. You know what I mean? That whole thing where each person's got their own flavors. You know what I mean? Everybody's got their own opinion on cannabis, and um, I think without being able to share that and have some proper way of doing some R&D, that's basic R&D right there, is smoking your own flower as it's curing, having other people try it. If that's taken away from us, we're just selling people whatever comes through the line. That makes no sense at all to me.
Mystery weed.
Yes. What does it taste like, farmer? It like the name says, man. It probably tastes like the name, which
And
is not always.
isn't that part of the whole culture, is just sharing with people and fucking,
Yep.
to me,
Respect.
it feels antithetical to the entire cannabis culture to say, and I
100%.
don't know another business where you're not allowed to give away your own product for free.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Even at farmers markets, I see them giving out free little testers of booze and
Right.
shit,
Mm-hmm. So one thing I wanted to try to get out into people's hands, and one thing that I really believe in, is RSO. We make a crap ton of RSO, and we give it out every year. We don't do anything with it, or we did. Now we're trying to figure out how we're still going to be able to do that and not get slapped on the bum for it. Well, yeah, of course, of course. I hate seeing people go in pain and have issues right in life, especially terminal people that don't really have any want to be all drugged up before they go. They want to enjoy their families before they slip off into their respective heaven or whatever, Um, so so that's a salve. I think a lot of people, if we could give out our salve, we'd freaking give it out. No, we have to get somebody to process it for us, package it, and then put it out as a product that's going to be overpriced. Um, I I'd like to keep my products as low as possible, just because I know the amount of people that want quality cannabis but don't have the $300-400 a week to spend on a half ounce, or
We
you
don't
know what I
either.
mean. We don't either. That's why I started growing so many years
And
ago.
we love hash too, and it's
Yep.
really expensive.
It's
And
super expensive.
they cap it too, which is silly in the legal market.
Yep.
So,
You guys want to comment on the THC caps?
I think it's silly.
I think it's silly.
Yeah.
Why are we capping people's wellness?
No, you can't cap like weed in general.
It makes no sense. We spent all these years working genetics so they were more potent,
right.
and more pronounced, right? And then we took some years, right? We also dulled stuff down so it was less stinky. So during transport, you know what I mean? So we've done all this irreversible freaking damage to cannabis, right? All in the good of the plant, right? Which I think we're just slowly freaking starting to take away from what it once was. You know what I mean? Like we were talking earlier about the THC potency and stuff. We're just slowly taking away from full plant medicine that should be looked at more than THC. I'm still waiting for one of these states like California. I know they do have some research companies that are doing more research on cannabis and medical benefits. But I'm waiting for one of these states to finally open up and do some extensive research on the plant and actually see what we have. You know what I mean? Instead of going off of oh, it's just another product. I think we should be looking at the full plant medicine and trying to use it towards our benefit for sure.
I got a couple comments here. Here's one from Nick again. Nick, thanks for sticking around. He said, my wife's aunt was very grateful for RSO. Word up.
Yeah, it happened.
Always, man.
See, that
Always.
makes us happy.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
and
Go ahead.
that's the thing. You know, if we could give out RSO, right? Say at cost of packaging, right? If we could do something like that, if the CCB was willing to come forth with something like that, what need would we have for a lot of the medical and the medical side of the cannabis industry here in Vermont? I think we could get rid of a lot of bull crap, such as licensing and stuff. Why do I need to get a medical card saying I can use cannabis, right? We don't do that for any other thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been using it the whole time, and I didn't need a card.
100%.
Can
That's
I
why
ask you? Oh,
go ahead.
oh no! I had another question here. It's from Chelsea again. Chelsea Sanders. Is it just you two, or do you have employees?
Oh, it's just us.
Just us.
Yep.
Cool. And then we got.
We want to be focused on just being a family farm. Me and my wife have been handling business for the past 4 years now, as far as working as a team, and I've been growing for freaking going on 10 plus years. So I think we work good as a team together, and if we could just utilize our kids here in the future, I'm trying to build generational wealth for my family. And I didn't come up from any kind of money.
Yeah.
I was in, you know,
Yeah.
I was ward of the state at 9 years old, in and out of placements, youth homes, stuff like that, shelters, etc. You know what I mean? So my family means a lot to me, and the legacy that I'm building, I want to last. And without being able to do direct sales, having our children be involved in our business, it's going to be hard for them to even want to carry on the legacy if I can't bring them in, show them what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be afraid to bring my child to showcase to her what, hey, look, this is what daddy does, and explain to her and whatnot. I have to worry about my 18 and 19-year-old bringing them in and showing them. I think that's just a hostile environment for a small legacy farm. You know what I mean?
Craft. And we really are craft, only the two of us.
Yeah.
I swear,
I'm the only one that touches them.
Jen, you said it, like any other farm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
100%.
And there's tons of farms around here too, you know, from milk to corn. So
I think it's quite silly that we're going to allow profitability to be made off the cannabis industry by the state, government, etc., right? But we're not going to allow the farmer to share what he does with his next generation. Who's going to take on after me? Am I just going to sell out to an MSO? Am I going to have to, you know what I mean? It just leaves very little avenues for smaller guys that don't care about going to tier 2 or tier 3, that just want to grow this plant for the rest of their life and see what they can do with it.
Even craft beer is popular, you know, so
yes,
people like having craft things.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say 100% a lot, huh?
Maybe I'm gonna have to count after.
Well, you make a lot of good points. So, you know, there's a lot of that 100. So I don't know who this is. It's I Love Hemp saying hi. Rick Simpson. Rick Simpson oil is God's gift.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
That and salve.
hemp oil, aka cannabis oil, aka hemp oil. Thank yes.
That's it.
And ever heard of grit weed? I hate that BS. I've never
No,
no.
I've
I have
heard of
no idea.
coffee.
Cobweed's pretty actually good.
Yeah, amazing.
It was a significant problem in the United Kingdom around a decade ago. Users discovered a quick way to determine if they had grit weed by rubbing their buds on glass. 0 if it scrapes. If it scrapes, it is tainted. Okay, I don't know anything about that, but yo, shoot me a message after. I don't know.
Yeah.
I read all about the spice and the K2 and that type of weird
Oh
fake
yeah,
weed.
synthetics. Yucky.
Yep. Going back to that whole synthetic bull crap. You know, we already have
Something
cannabinoids.
beautiful.
Our body has a cannabinoid system, right? That processes and breaks it down. Then, you know, why are we making synthetics that have nothing to do with the stinking plant? Blows my mind.
Can I ask you guys? I'm getting towards the end of my shit, and I know Nick. You know, Nick threw in a comment there earlier where he asked if you guys had done your first drop yet, and you said Winooski Organic.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I have 2 questions. 1, if you're going to be doing any type of manufacturing, and 2, where else we might be able to find your products, or if that's the only place for now.
For right now, the first drop, Ed was gracious enough to check out my products and buy the whole lot off me. I would like to work with as little but as many dispensaries as possible. We have a few dispensaries. Nick Matei's spot looks like a beautiful spot. Plus, we love them as people. Burn Gallery was a goal for us. I mean, they seem to be on top of shit over there. What was the other one? Cloud9. They look like some shop that I might want to be in.
Dave Camara, yeah, he came on the show. I thought Dave did a great interview. Man, that was fantastic.
Yeah, most definitely. So I want to keep my stuff as a small farmer kind of exclusive and go to as little dispensaries as possible. But I also want everybody throughout the state to be able to try my cannabis. So
if they do the farmers market, that would be cool.
Yeah. If they did the farmers market, that'd be great. That'd be something that we really want to do.
Yeah.
Then we can focus less about where we're going to put our stuff,
right? And then
how
all the
we
farmers
market
can come
our
together
stuff
too and show off their stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Now, are you guys going to do your own packaging, or are you guys going to have
Oh,
someone
yeah.
else?
Yeah, we did our own packaging and stuff. We did all of our packaging ourselves. Like I was saying, we did all compostable packaging. We're focused on leaving as little of a imprint as possible. That's one of my pet peeves with this cannabis industry
too
is
much packaging.
how much trash we're making with it. Everything's just overly packaged, and some of the stuff I had a hard time getting into. And you know, if it wasn't for the internet or my wife,
the child lock one.
Yeah, what's funny is the child lock things. The kids seem to be able to open up better than me.
And I have really bad arthritis in my hands, and in some of those, especially the little concentrate things.
Oh my!
After trimming, my hands swell up so bad, right? After trimming 5-10 pounds, your hands get freaking hurting. And that's one of my things is wasn't able to touch my cannabis, so I got to go to the dispensary and grab a little bit of cannabis so I can smoke on my breaks and be able to partake myself. And trying to open that package with swollen hands was just ridiculous.
I got another question here I'd like to throw at you.
Most definitely.
So I love hemp. Do you grow any land-raised strains?
So I worked with a couple of Afghanis a few times. I've worked with a Mazar. What else? I'm trying to think. There was a couple. It's not really a land race, but I just worked the Shrom recently, and that's bred. It's a polyhybrid of a land race. I believe it's like 70 something Colombian to sour diesel.
He knows more of that stuff than me.
So I had a friend of mine that's a breeder gift me some seeds of them, and I wanted to definitely check them out. That's something that definitely interests me, is a lot of the old school stuff. I like a lot of the sours, a lot of the chems. I love haze. We named our daughter, our youngest, Hazen, after Purple Haze. Yep. She's definitely got a unique name. So yeah, I love a lot of the old school stuff, and I do have a lot of genetics that I'm hoping to work into the legal market that will fit with today's societal norms, right? And be bag appealing and also be a good product. Working with a lot of the land races and stuff, you have to work through a lot of uh, stuff that you wouldn't have to nowadays with
And
all
they're
the
kind of
European
all
genetics
foreign
and
too.
yeah, a lot of the land races. Think Greenpoint seeds, but Ariane kind of took out a lot of the true
Yeah.
land races and stuff. If you look at like African land races, a lot of those are taken on by European genetics nowadays. You don't see a lot of land races. They're harder and harder to find each year.
Mhm.
I believe there's some Chinese ones that are super, super rare. There's a lot of South American ones that are still available and whatnot, but that's slowly being taken over by European genetics. The uniformity of some of the polyhybrids and stuff, people just can't resist. You know what I mean?
Is this kind of like what's happening with corn, where they've turned it all into this like Monsanto type of
Yeah.
corn?
Well, if you look at cannabis, it's slowly being monopolized. I believe that's what no talking shit about. I think he's one of the kings of cannabis. He's definitely going to be one of the people in my lifetime that reach a billion to be a billionaire off cannabis, which is freaking awesome. But I think a lot of his stuff is monopolizing the market. You look at his part in the European markets. He's got his fingers in everything. He's in South America.
Well,
He's
that's like
Africa.
cookies.
Oh yeah, you look at a lot of
Yeah,
these bigger
burner.
companies.
Oh yeah.
Yep. They're just moving their way through different states and working around because they have the money to sit dormant and work around all the legislation and find something that fits them and still be relevant in the market. You know what I mean? Um, that's why I think craft farmers are going to be the last standpoint for a lot of cannabis, right? Once we start letting it go out to the mass public, done by corporations,
Or when it's federally.
yeah, when it's
legalized.
federally legalized, everybody's shooting for federal legalization. We just need decriminalization
Yes.
and deschedulizing.
Deschedule.
Deschedule it.
Take it completely out.
Allow my grandma to smoke her autoflower if she wants. You know what I
And that's
mean?
another thing, like seeing all the older people starting to smoke who didn't smoke.
Yep.
It's so cool.
Yep.
Or some of my unnamed family members who recently started using edibles, and are really loving it.
That's so
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's beneficial and it brings some kind of quality to their monotonous lives or their overwhelming lives for a
Right.
lot of people. I know a lot of guys that are in their mid 50s, right, that used to use our service that totally get a release from everyday life. They don't have to go home and drink, and they're a lot easier to be around their families. And then the accessibility as far as like carts and easy access to being able to intake,
We should get rid of carts though.
Yeah, but anyways, I think they
just
do
cause a lot of garbage.
Yes, there's a lot to weed through.
We can dab. We don't need carts.
People like the accessibility.
I know they do.
And I think a lot of older people benefit from it.
I agree with you, Jen. And I've also talked to a couple of scientists that say some of the black market cards will leach heavy metals into the oil as it sits there longer. And that's super concerning to me, because I can't imagine how many.
Younger generation, yeah, because all my kids smoke, like the 18. I know they shouldn't be smoking, but they do.
Stuff they can
and
find.
they'll try the cheapest cart they can get, and it's not always good.
Those knockoff TKO cards I could get for fucking $200 for a 10-pack.
Most
super
definitely.
good deal.
Unless and what sucks about it,
yeah, go ahead.
And what sucks about it is being a cultivator myself and having to tell my kids I can't help you out legally. If I help you out, I'll go to jail. You know what I mean? But they're still accessing it from the streets, and they're getting nasty products. And I just got to sit back and allow it, or else face punishment. It's ass backwards. You know what I mean? My son was like, I don't get it. He's 18. he likes to vape and he likes cannabis, you know what I mean? He's very responsible with it. He just wants to be able to utilize it after he gets out of work, you know, before he has to go spend time with his baby or after, you know what I mean? And I think the laws that'll let him go to war, but won't let him smoke cigarettes or have a beer or you know, utilize cannabis, you know, go to a strip club even. Go kill yourself for the country, but you can't see a set of boobs before you go, or you know what I mean? Like it's quite off-putting.
Guys, I'm just about out of shit here.
Most definitely. I see how you are. I mentioned boobs and you get out of here.
Well, no, I mean, that's a great note to leave it on, isn't it?
But always is. Always
here's
is.
the deal. You know, here's one more shameless slap too. It's Jenn and Tom Mcginty. Mcginty's
Love that
Magical
logo, man.
Med. Yeah, it looks killer, dude. Before we get out of here, you know, I always like to leave a little room at the end for my guests. I want to thank you guys for being here. Again, it's been a pleasure. I always love chopping it up with you guys, man. But if we missed anything, or there's any shameless plugs or shout outs that you want to give, now is the time before we get out of here. Thank you guys again. It's been a pleasure.
Well, I would just like to thank my wife. She's been my rock 12 plus years now. Without her, I'm nothing, you know.
We've come a long way, though.
Well, good wife, the farmer is crap. You know what I mean? So I'd like to thank her, you know. I'd also like to say anybody that's dealing with substance abuse issues or anything like that.
That you can make it.
10 years ago, I was intravenous shitbag drug user. I was able to pull myself up and out of that, you know, and actually follow my dream and be able to make a few things happen. So don't sit and think, you know, just because you have an issue now that you can't fix it. Everything's overcomable.
Yes, it is.
Jenn?
I'd like to thank my husband too. I wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for him. I actually just started smoking 4 years ago.
4 or 5 years ago now.
I used to smoke when I was younger, but I quit a while when I had my kids and I was using drugs, and then I started using cannabis again. But I'd just like to thank him. And also my dad, he passed away when he was 40. He had ALS. And we actually made the moose for him because he used to take us moose. He was a stoner his whole life, and he used to take us moose cruising every Saturday. So shout outs to him. Oh, and my sister, Jamie, she passed away from a fentanyl overdose. So I'd like to call out to her. Yes. And like he said, anybody that's struggling right now or using or trying to get sober, you can do it.
I'm going to pull myself back up here. Jenn and Tom Mcginty. Boy, you almost made me cry there, Jenn.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. I fucking love you guys. It's always great chatting with you. I'm going to get out of here. One more slap. Mcginty's Magical Med. I'm your host, Caleb Teskey. The devil is in the details, and the details are in the fine.